are recording. Okay, this is your practice test for your final on surface area, Chapter 6. We have different parts to it. And remember, as you're studying for this, if you're watching this video passively, just to kind of make sure you understand everything, what I show you today, the way I show you the answers and the way I show the work is what I expect you to do tomorrow when you write your test, so make sure you do it properly. Your first 5 questions, is that what it is, are your vocabulary. The first question says, blank is the number of square units on a 3D shape. The answer for that, I'm going to make my marker just a little bit thicker. I don't quite like the thin one. Is surface area. Surface area. So on the outside of a rectangular prism, cube, cylinder, or triangular prism, the amount of square units on the outside of that is called your surface area. And if I scroll down to number 3, blank is the number of square units on a 2D shape. That's just area. So we're talking about a square or a circle or a rectangle or a triangle. That's area. So differentiate between those two. One's in a 3-dimensional surface, one's in a 2-dimensional surface. Question 2 says a blank is a 2D side of a 3D shape. That is simply just a face. We call that a face. Sometimes when we're dealing with prisms, sometimes people say side, but side technically isn't right. It's called a face. Question 4, a blank is a prism with 3 faces. There's only one, and that's the cylinder, because there's a circle at the top, a circle on the bottom, and when we cut out that other side, that's the third face, which is a rectangle, so it's a cylinder. And our last one is a prism with 6 identical faces. There's only one of those that has 6 identical faces, and that's a cube. Our next question is our vocabulary match. We're just going to start at question 6. The surface area of a cube. What is the surface area formula for a cube? Since one face is side squared and there are 6 faces, our formula is going to be 6 side squared, which is G. The area of a circle, if you don't know pi r squared by now, you're in trouble. But the formula for the area of a circle is pi r squared, which means A. What's another word for the perimeter of a circle, the one you actually learned last year? Circumference. So I kind of confuse you by saying perimeter of a circle, but what I really mean is, what is the formula for circumference? And that's pi times diameter, which is B. The surface of a rectangular prism, since it has 6 faces, 3 pairs of faces, it's 2LW plus 2LW plus 2LW, which is H. The surface area of a cylinder is 2 circles and a rectangle, so it's 2 pi r squared and a pi dh, which is I. The surface area of a triangular prism, it's 2 triangles and 3 rectangles, which makes the formula 2 base times height divided by 2 plus an LW plus an LW plus an LW. Area of a square is simply side squared, which is E. Area of a rectangle is the easiest one up there. It's length times width, which is D. The radius of a circle, well, if you think about a diameter of a circle being that distance, the radius of a circle is half as much, so therefore it's the diameter divided in half, or D divided by 2, J. And finally, the last one, the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2, which makes that answer C. For questions 16, 17, 18, and 19, it says, write an appropriate formula, substitute, simplify to calculate both the area and the perimeter. Now, we never talked about perimeter because it wasn't a grade 8 outcome, and I don't even think it was a grade 7 outcome. But the construction of a formula is something I didn't give you, but I want you to know these. So when we talk about perimeter, remember what we're talking about. We're talking about, I'll grab a highlighter here because it's easier with a highlighter. I'll use a nice yellow one. Let's make it like this. The perimeter of an object is simply the distance around the outside of the object. So of those 4 numbers, 7, 5, 6, and 3, which one is not used in the calculation of the perimeter? Well, why don't we just say every number randomly? The answer is 3, because 3 is actually the interior height of that triangle and has nothing to do with the distance around the outside. So for our formula, we're actually simply going to say side plus side plus side. And if you want to differentiate it, you can say side 1, side 2, and side 3. I kind of like putting those there just to make sure you differentiate between them. The first side, doesn't matter which one you choose, 7 plus 5 plus 6. We know from the associative property of mathematics, the order in which we add 3 numbers together does not affect the sum. So we can just put them in any order we want. And when we add that up, 7 plus 5 plus 6, we get 18. Now remember, for area, we use square units. For perimeter, what units do we use? Just regular meters, right? Just regular units. So in this case, the distance around the perimeter of that triangle is 18 meters. If you put 18 square meters on the test by accident, you will lose a half a mark. So please be careful what units you use. For the area, our formula for area is base times height divided by 2. Since the base is 6, the height is 3. We're going to substitute it just like that. Notice how I'm not using multiplication symbols and I'm just substituting it right underneath it. If you want to do the triangle from side to side, it's fine. You don't have to do it up and down. I like doing it this way. Equals 18 divided by 2, and then I actually just put it like this. And my units are going to be square meters. Make sure you include square meters for your area. If you make a mistake and put meters or forget to put units, you will lose half a mark for not having completeness. Okay, we'll erase this. Continuing along, we have question 17, which is a square. For perimeter, I'll make this a little bit bigger again. What is the formula for the perimeter of a square? Does anyone know? Somebody said in the last, or I think it was in this class, somebody said side plus side plus side plus side. That would be correct as well, right? But since all of the sides are the same measurement, Andrew, what would be an easier formula to use? No, that would be for the surface area of the entire cube. That's just one square face. Not 4s squared. 4s is correct. If we think about just numbers, I'm going to put 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7. This is not the formula, but let's just put that down. In grade 4, you learned that repeated addition can be expressed how? Repeated addition can be expressed as multiplication. And technically, this would be 4 times 7, correct? 4 times 7. So technically, our formula, as Andrew just said, is simply 4 multiplied by the side length. Okay? Or, since the side length is 7, 4 times 7, which means, I wish this was on default to that size, the distance around the outside of this shape, going all the way around here like this, would be 28 meters as a perimeter. When I look at the area, our formula for this is side squared, or 7 squared, or 49 meters squared. Now, for those of you who still don't grasp why that is, remember, if it's 7 meters, those are 7 spaces on each length and width, and that would be 49 square meters within that perimeter of that shape. For our rectangle, our formula for perimeter. Andy, how many lengths make up a rectangle? How many lengths make up a rectangle? 2? 2. How many widths make up a rectangle? 2. So if I was to highlight those two things with my highlighter here, I would have 2 lengths and I would have 2 widths. So the formula you're going to use on your test is 2 lengths plus 2 widths. And that's the formula we're going to use. Now, you haven't used, oh yeah, we did use distributive property, didn't we, when we did algebra. You could technically say it's 2 length plus widths, right? Technically, that's the formula you will probably see in a lot of textbooks. And if we think about what that means, remember when we did distributive property? 2 times L is 2L, and 2 times W is 2W. So technically, I could say 2 bracket L plus W. If you want to show advanced thinking with formulas, you can use that. Or, at a more basic level, you can say 2 lengths plus 2 widths. So technically, the distance around there is 2 6s and 2 2s, or 12 and 4, or 16 meters as a perimeter. Move this over here for a second. Cover up that, I guess. Our area formula, everybody knows the area of a rectangle. It's the most basic formula there is on the planet. Area equals length times width. On your test, please ensure that you don't use a multiplication symbol between there, because I am trying to get you away from using multiplication symbols and understanding that multiplication of 2 variables next to each other is implied. Length is 6, width is 2. 6 times 2 is 12, and therefore our area is 12 square meters. And our last question is a circle. The perimeter, even to confuse you, instead of having a P there, what could I have instead? A C, right? Because circumference and perimeter are the same thing. Our formula is pi multiplied by the diameter. Since the radius is 5, what is the diameter? 10. So we're going to have 3.14 multiplied by 10. And multiplying by 10 don't grab your calculator. It's so easy. Move your decimal 1 spot over, Jack, and you get 31.4 meters. Okay. That's the distance around the outside of that circle, or the circumference. Your area formula, everybody knows pi r squared, or 3.14 times 5 squared. On your test, there's two common mistakes I will see made. The first mistake kids who don't know what they're doing make is they multiply 3.14 by 5 first. Don't know if anyone will do that in this class, but you might. The second mistake people make is they know they're supposed to do 5 squared first, but they say 5 squared is 10, and it's not 10. 5 squared is 25. So you got to make sure you understand what squaring a number means. And 3.14 times 25 is 78.5 square meters. Now we started question 20. Okay, settle in. We just pressed pause and we talked about cities to visit to. So we are recording right now. Shh, thank you. So question 20 is a triangular prism. How many faces make up a triangular prism? 5. We know that our formula, it says we're going to make 5 faces. So we know that our net is going to consist of, in this particular one, what kind of triangle is that? A right triangle. So all 3 of my rectangles are going to be different sizes. And I'm okay if you make it something like that. It's not, you don't have to, but it's kind of nice that you know that. And when you make your triangles, try to make them, that's the worst one ever. Because if you think about folding that up, this one here, this edge here, is supposed to fit onto that edge there, isn't it? Right? There's no way that's going to fit on there. But anyway, that's close enough. We're good with that. So put your right triangles there. Now when we get to this, you're supposed to put the area of each face. So when I think about this triangle, and I bring it over here, what's the base and the height of this triangle? It's 5 and 6. So our formula is base times height divided by 2, or 5 times 6 divided by 2, which means that each of these faces is 15. So I'm going to write 15 inside there. Then our rectangles. If I think about this big slanted rectangle at the front, what are the dimensions of that one? It is, say it again, 7 and 8. If I grab my highlighter, I'll bring it down here, my highlighter, it is 7 by 8, correct? Which means the area of that big one is how many square meters? 56 meters squared. So I'll put a 56 in there. Our back rectangle, which I'll highlight, let's do yellow for this one. Our back rectangle is this one here. You can kind of see it there in the back rectangle. What are the dimensions of that one? 6 by 8, which means its area is 48. And then the bottom one, which I suppose I could highlight in purple. What are the dimensions of this one? 8 by 5, which makes it 40. So in your net, that's all you have to do, is you have to remember that each of those has an area, put them all in there. Once you get them, just add them together. Now how I'm going to add them is maybe different than you would. Watch this. 15 and 15 is 30. 30 and 40 is 70. 70 and 40 is 110. 110 and 50 is 160. 166 plus 8 is 174, right? So if you do that, make sure you don't scribble it out so I can't see anything. But then I want you to have here the surface area equals 174 meters squared. Okay? And once you do that, that's half of your mark for that particular question. The other one is, I have 2 triangles, and a rectangle, and a rectangle, and a rectangle. So I have 2 6 by 5s divided by 2, and I have 1 8 by 7, 1 8 by 5, and 1 8 by, what's the other one? 6. It's the world's worst 6. Once you've substituted it, 30 divided by 2 is 50. You get 30 plus 56 plus 40 plus 48. When you add all those together, you're going to get the same answer of 174 square meters. Question 21 is the picture of a cube. So as far as a net goes, it is the easiest shape to do. It is 6 identical squares, 4 in one line, and then we flap open the other ones like this. What is the area of one face of that, Taya? 81. So all you have to do is, since everyone's 81, just drop 81 in each of these. What's 80 times 5? Or 80 times 6, sorry. 480, correct? Plus 6 more means when you add them all together, you get 486 square meters as your surface area. As a formula, one face is side squared. All 6 of them is 6 sides squared. So 6 multiplied by 9 squared. 6 multiplied by, don't say 18, it's 81. And your answer is 486 square meters. Question 22 is a rectangular prism. So when you do this one, you will have 4 rectangles and then 2 rectangles that way. I don't know how perfect that is, but it's pretty good. Not bad, not terrible. I've seen worse. Let's call this one the bottom. Let's call this one the top. So I'm going to put a T and a B there for bottom and top. What is the area of the bottom? I'll highlight it for you if you can't see it. What is the area of the bottom of that? 50. And the area of the top would be identical to that, correct? So we're going to put in the bottom 50 here and 50 here. And then we're going to take the front, and I'll use another color highlighter. We'll do red, no, we'll do highlighter, blue. What is the area of the front? 7 by 10, which is 70. So I'm going to put an F here for front, and a B here for back, or BA. I can put 70 and 70. And finally, our last one, I won't highlight, I'll just kind of shade it in there. What's the area of that right and left? 35. So that'll go in right and left. 35 and 35, 70, 210, 310. Your surface area equals 310 meters squared. If you guys could stop talking during the video, that would be great. Thank you. Once we substitute our formula, remember that we have 2 rectangles that made up the front and back. I'll put FB there. And we had 2 rectangles that made up the top and bottom. Put TB there. And we have 2 rectangles that made up the left and right. That FB, TB, and LR are not necessary, but they are helpful. So the front and back, they were 2 10 by 7s. The top and bottoms were 2 10 by 5s. And the left and rights were 2 7 by 5s. Once we've substituted our numbers into our formula, we just have multiplication and addition. We know our bed math by heart now. So we knew we'd do our multiplications first. 2 times 10 times 7 is 140. Plus 2 times 10 times 5 is 100. Plus 2 times 7 times 5 is 70. When I add all those up, I get 310 meters squared. Question 23 is our cylinder. And when we do our net, remember that a net consists of a rectangle, a circle, and a circle. So the area of our circle requires a little bit of thinking because it's pi r squared, or 3.14 multiplied by the radius of 3 squared, or 3.14 times 9. And 3.14 times 9, if I grab my calculator, bring it down here. Oh, it's right there. Oh, shoot. 3.14. Put that over there. 3.14 times 9 equals 28.26. So 28.26 and 28.26. So I put 28.26 in each of those. Now here's where it gets a little complicated. This distance right here of my rectangle is equal to what measurement of the circle? Anybody? The circumference. And this measurement of my net is equal to the what of the cylinder? The height. So when I think about that, this is pi times diameter, you get the circumference, and this is h. So we're going to use pi d times h for this, or pi dh. So 3.14 multiplied by 6 multiplied by 10. Grab my calculator. 3.14 times 6 times 10 is 188.4. That goes in here. And when I add those all together, 188.4 plus 28.26 plus 28.26, press the equals button, I get 244.92. 244.92 is the total surface area of that cylinder. And we need to use the proper units of meters squared. Now when we use our formula, Jack, what will our formula be for the cylinder? Jack? Don't worry about it. Isaiah, what is it? Right? Plus pi dh. If you're having a hard time, just write this one here. 2 circles and a rectangle. That'll help you remember what it is, right? So 2 pi r squared is 2 times 3.14 times 3 squared plus 3.14 times 6 times 10. Well, we already know what this is. That's going to be 188.4 when I simplify, because we already did that calculation. And over here, we're going to get 56.52 when we work that out. And when we add them together, we're going to get 244.92 as the total surface area. Question 24 gives us a circle with 2 triangles missing. It says create an appropriate formula and calculate the area of the shape for the shaded area. So here, if I do it in simple terms, it's a circle, take away 2 triangles. If you wanted to think of the 2 triangles as a parallelogram or a rectangle, you could do so, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's important. One thing I did forget to mention here is these are right triangles, and I should have put that in there, but I didn't. So the circle is pi r squared. Take away 2 triangles. There's our formula worth a point on your test. We have 3.14 multiplied by the radius squared. Take away 2. The base of the triangle is 10. The height of the triangle is also 10. So we have 10 by 10 divided by 2, or 3.14 multiplied by 100, or 314. Take away 2 by 100 divided by 2, which is 2 times 50, which is 100, which means the total surface area of the red in that particular circle is 214 square meters. Our next shape, 25, is a triangle with a circle cut out, or a base times height divided by 2 minus a pi r squared as a formula. A triangle with a circle cut out. When I think about the base, now we are missing a measurement on this picture, isn't it? What did we say this dotted line was? 10 meters. We did do some Pythagorean theorem here. We calculated 10 point something, so we just said we'll just use 10 as our height. So our base is 12. Our height is 10 divided by 2. If there was no circle cut out, the area of that triangle would be 60 meters squared, correct? But we do have to take away a circle, which is pi, 3.14, multiplied by the radius. If the diameter of that circle is 8, then we know our radius there is 4. So we're going to put 4 squared, or 3.14 multiplied by 16, which is, if I take my calculator, 3.14 multiplied by 16 is 50.24. Right? So now that I have that, 60 take away 50.24 is 9.76 meters squared. A lot of people who try to do that in their head say 9.86, right? But it's 9.76 for this fraction. And that's your solution to question 25. Question 26 is a square. Take away a white part. Okay, hold on. This is important that you write this down. Question 26 is a large square. Take away a white square. So the large one, we'll put large here. Take away the white square plus this middle square, right? That middle square right there actually counts. So your formula is a large white square, or sorry, a large red square, take away a white square, plus a small red. That's what we're going to use for our formula. So the large red square was a 10 squared. Take away, what are the dimensions of the white square? 6 squared plus, what's the dimensions of the red square, Cohen? 4 squared. So we have 100, take away 36, plus 16. When I work that out, I'm really only subtracting 20, which means your total surface area, your area will equal 80 square meters. 100 take away 36 plus 16 is 80. So for 26, your answer is 80 meters squared. And your very last question is this one, which is actually quite simple. It's a triangle, which is base times height divided by 2. Take away a square. What's the length of this here? It's not 10 and it's not 6. It's 16. Because here, it says that this little line here means 10, which means this little line here is 10. Plus 6 more means the base of that triangle is 16. The height of that triangle is also 16 divided by 2. 16 times 16 is 256. 16, now look, I could say 16, oh shoot. I could say 16 times 16, but what button can I press here that does 16 times 16 for me? That button right there. 16 times 16 is 256. And 256 divided by 2 is 128. So the area of the triangle, if nothing were cut out, would be 128 meters squared. The area of my square is 6 squared, which is 36. And 128 take away 36 is 88. No, 80. Uh-oh, brain not working. Calculator. One mouth error. 92. So therefore, the total surface area of that red is 92 square meters.